Hi. Right, I'm Caz Parker for MMH, the home of rock radio, and today I'm here with Brandon Cook from Black and Blue and the Loyal Order. But today, it is not about Black and Blue at all. It is all about the Loyal Order and something very exciting, which is the release of your debut album, self-titled The Loyal Order. Lots of name drops there for you.
Yeah, I'm super excited about this album. This is like my first album that's going out completely worldwide, where I play guitar on every track, and I'm one of the main writers and, main partners in the band. So I've played with a lot of other people and been on a bunch of other records and stuff, but this is the one.
Absolutely.
And it's on a label. It's on the EMP label group, and I'm super proud to be working with David Ellison of Megadeth and Tom Hazer, the president of the company. Me and Jeff are super excited about this. So.
Yeah. Well, and you very well should be as well. And that's obviously what we're going to talk about today, is how good the album is, because I've been listening to it on repeat so that we can have a very good conversation about it. And it is nice to be catching up in a professional capacity for once, actually, isn't it? Rather than doing fireball shots on video, which we do sometimes. Well, me, more than you.
Hanging out doing karaoke and Monsters of Rock Cruise.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. But yeah, the listeners don't need to know all about that. We'll just keep that. Yeah, we'll keep professional, shall we? So obviously we'll put this out on social media, so it will go out potentially to anybody who is a fan of yours and who follows me and who follows MMH. So could be seen all over the world. But what I thought I would do, because you are a new band, not even a relatively new band, you are a new band as such. I thought I'll just tell everybody who's in the band, because again, people are not going to be as familiar with you as they might be, not for your first album, everything. So I think from what I'm seeing, hearing, reading, you are taking America by storm at the moment, but we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. But the band was formed a few years ago by you and Jeff Buhner. I got that right, didn't I?
Jeff Buhner, that's right.
Absolutely. Who is the singer. And did this start because you had to write a song together for a TV show? Was that correct?
That's correct, yeah. We had there was a TV show that was created by a producer named Jeff Coxon that was called Heavy Hitters Outdoors. And the original name of the show was Off the Grid. And by the time it got to Comcast Sportsnet Northwest, which is an affiliate of NBC, they had, worked the name a little bit, and Heavy Hitters Outdoors was, much more apt title. It just worked so much better. And so the song was called Off the Grid Superhuman.
Is and that we actually, Superhuman that's on the album? That's
correct. We changed the track title so that it would just be Superhuman, and going off the grid again is one of the lyrics. So it's a fun rock and roll song that's like super heavy, and that's one of my favorites on the record. So
it is. I've listed that as one of my favorites as well. So cool. Okay, so cool. And also in the band there's Patrick Young, also from Black and Blue, on bass. Justin Gibson on guitar, and Kyle Baltus on drums as well, who was in 36 Crazy Fists, you were telling me earlier as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Kyle is, he's absolutely one of the best drummers I've ever played with. He just just devastates the drums when he's playing with us. And it's I was telling you earlier that he played Download Festival, with 36, and I was just like, oh my God. And so we've been friends for a long time, and we've all been running around the same Portland music scene for a really long time. And we tried a couple of different players to be in the band, and everybody's really busy, So Kyle was kind of winding things down with a tour with 36, and he said, I'm going to be not busy for a while. So we were like, you want to play with us? And he ended up on a track on the album, Hellfire. And so actually the entire full band is on that track, like the band that we call the Loyal Order right now.
Right.
A lot of this was started off as a studio project. So we had a tough time, like making sure the players were going to be right long-term. They were right for the tune and they could play it. And then, but like, it's as, band leaders and, bands do, they try to find players that can play everything and do what they need to do. And then not only that, create as a band. It's really hard to do. I didn't realize that when I was when me and Jeff were first deciding what we were going to do with this band, we're like, oh, this song's great. Oh, this song's great. It doesn't sound totally like this one, but it fits the vibe. And then, the players were different on some of them. And Kyle was really the only guy that could totally crush everybody's parts and not be like, he never said to me once. That's what I love about Kyle. He never said to me once, I don't want to play that part, because that was like with that sense of I didn't write it. He was like, I was like, I'm just going to play it. And I'm like, okay, that's awesome. You made us sound amazing. So, there were things that he couldn't do because like the instrumentation of the drums were different, but like he just nailed it. He just came in and slayed the parts.
Yeah.
So
that's what you want. Good, solid drummer. Absolutely. And it shows, to be fair, that all the musicians that you've chosen, like you say, not all of them are playing on every track on the album, but it's a solid album. We'll talk about that in more detail anyway, and we'll talk about the songs in more detail too. And obviously I know that you and Jeff are the main songwriting partnership, which clearly works very well. You've obviously been working very hard on getting this album together. What I thought would be interesting for people is just a little bit of stuff about what's been going on. We're in such a weird time. The whole world's in the weirdest time we've ever been in our lifetimes, really. So I always think it's quite interesting to start with just a little bit of conversation around lockdown, what you've been doing and that sort of stuff. So obviously, evidently, this is a big part of what you've been working on and leading up to. But I mean, how is life in lockdown treating you? What have you been up to? I mean, I know, but the listeners don't. Yeah. I pretty much know what you're up to every day, but to my listeners, to my loyal fan base, what I've been doing is I've been driving a lot of Uber Eats because all my music gigs went away. So it's like I didn't have any paying music gigs, and I'm like, okay, well, I better do something. And so I had been signed up with Uber Eats before that, just because, I pick up a little money here and there. It's like, okay, I got to pay my electric bill, go out and drive it. The gigs had a shortfall this month, so just going to go get my electric bill money, or I'll go get my, fitness club bill paid and not have to worry about it. And so, but over the last few months, I had been ramping up, trying to make more money just so I can pay for college money for my child and pay for, get all my other things sort of even and not have any debts and no credit card debt. And so that was my big goal, to make sure that when I came out the other side of this pandemic, I had done something that most people couldn't do, which I understand it's really sucky that people can't even pay their bills in a lot of cases. I feel really, really, really blessed that I was able to have a working vehicle, that could get out there and make me some money. Do you know what though? You're probably working harder than ever during a time, like you say, when other people are finding it difficult to find work. But I do always say, if you want to work, you will find work. There's always something that people need or want to do. And you know what? Sometimes needs must. And I have a massive respect for that. Just get out there, earn some money, pay the bills. And like you say, the tours will come back. And in the meantime, it's not like you've not been working, writing, producing, getting things going. There's still all the music going on alongside, just getting your hands dirty and paying your bills. So that's a dream balance, really.
One of the other things I'm doing is actually me and my friend Sarah Moon, we're actually working on her solo album. So since the Loyal Order, we've made two social distance videos. Jeff and I have social distance written 2 or 3 sketches for songs. Yeah. We've been putting together all the promo, and he's been doing a lot of the business stuff because he's an excellent top tier business guy. He just has an amazing business mind, and he owns the record label that we get through, and the album's being released on EMP label. Yeah. Jeff is he's got the record label that funds the album. So we're, we have a lot of business stuff going on right now to make sure that this, goes through our distributor, Von Artist. And, so making sure our video is uploaded, making sure everything's going right, doing interviews with wonderful people like yourself.
Oh, yeah, obviously.
We've probably done 40 interviews, between the two of us, you
wow.
know, and just get, not only that, like just constant phone calls between the two of us trying to, you know, we can't do it in person. So we have to do it on the phone or via Zoom or just whatever we can to try to stay in touch.
There don't really seem to be enough hours in the day, Brandon, for all this stuff that you're doing, if I'm being honest.
No, I mean, it's not. I mean, I barely sleep at night, but like in between all that, you know, I'm writing a record with my friend Sarah Moon.
Yeah.
And I'm actually demoing all my guitar parts here in my apartment and working on, you know, sending files back and forth between me and the producer and Sarah. So, and that's probably
amazing that we can do that, really, isn't it?
Oh,
the technology allows that to happen, because without that, it would be even more difficult than it is right now. So,
yeah, I mean, I'm living a really full life. You know, I spend a lot of time with my kid, and you know, she comes with me when I go drive Uber Eats, and you know, we just talk, and it's really been cute. For the closest people in my life. You know, like you and our friends in our little film club, you know, like it's really great for me to be able to like have more close intimacy with my close friends, you know, people I really trust and love and admire. You know, it's like, it's hard for me to like, I'm an extrovert. So sitting in a house all day by myself, that's not how I gather energy.
No, I feel your pain.
Oh, yeah, I know.
And if nothing else, there's always boob photos to share. So, or Big Barry.
I don't know who he is. I don't know what you're talking about.
Me neither. We can edit that out. We won't, but
no, don't edit.
I won't. I can't. Even if I could. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't.
Morty has been he's been a source of inspiration for all of us.
He really has. He has been a joy and a pleasure.
That's right.
We're getting into, people are thinking it's a private joke now, but it's just, if anybody doesn't know, it's the Big Barry memes that have been going around. Unfortunately, they don't go out on social media because they're too rude, but everybody's sending them on WhatsApp and Messenger. So if they don't know, they're just going to have to Google. And if you don't know, where have you been? Google.
Is that where you get a lot of those, like from WhatsApp? Because maybe I'm missing out.
No, I'm in loads of groups. So one of my work groups, I don't even know where it started, actually. I can't remember where I got the first one from, and I wish I knew, because that sort of information is important to me. So I'll have to dig through the email archives. But yeah, somebody sent it, and I was like, this is genius. This has cheered me right up. Let's have more. So yeah, there we go. Now we have video, we have memes. Anyhow, I was going to ask if there's anything, I mean, it sounds like all the things you're doing, apart from obviously writing, working on music, you've got obviously Uber Eats. Is there anything you've done that's a bit different, weird, any sort of new hobby or anything, or have you not even got time to contemplate anything else?
There's something I've been doing that's like, it's brand new that I started right when the coronavirus hit. It's a thing called Mankind Project, and I've started it in early December. You know, I did my first foray into it. It's a weekend for men that is like, it's very, very deep work. You know, a lot of it's basically like this. The assumption is with the group that, you know, men do not have like the emotional development that women have. You know, women seem to be much more emotionally developed than we are, you know, even though like in our culture, like most everybody has a lot of like emotional suppression and like difficulty like expressing themselves emotionally. So, but for men, it's even worse because like, you know, we deal with a lot of like guilt and shame around emotion and like stuff like that. So throughout the pandemic, we've been meeting with this men's group, and we just get, you know, there's several of us, there's 9 of us, and we help each other kind of get through stuff, you know, and it's not like, oh, we get together and talk bad about women or something like that. It's like, none of that stuff is even acceptable, you know, like, it's like, nope, this is all about you. If you have this problem, it's a projection of your issues on someone else. And learning how to deal with that kind of stuff has been really like mind-blowing and changing for me. So, I mean, it's not that I didn't know that before. It's just knowing how to deal with it when it comes up is much more functional now, I think. So,
yeah.
That's the new thing.
You're right. There's kind of, I suppose, a bit of a stigma attached to men sharing emotions, which is part of the problem. Because we share stuff. We can't help ourselves. We share stuff with our friends, you know, and that really helps with mental health as well, because sharing and getting stuff off your chest, it's amazing what a difference that makes. So you're right. There are really no such thing as support groups for guys who just need a bit of help and someone to talk to. There just isn't. And so I think it's really important. And I think it's especially in this day and age, with depression being such a huge thing and mental health awareness finally coming out, it's a surprise that there aren't more of those things going on. And you've got to start somewhere, I suppose. But it's good to hear. It's good to hear, because I think it's really, really important.
Yeah, there's one of the things that you said was that there's no real men's groups, and I agree. You know, like most of the men's groups that are out there are like, they're religious based, and you know, there's a lot of men out there that don't have like religious beliefs. I'm not religious, and you know, if I want to go get into a men's group, you know, even if I had some like, you know, Alcoholic Anonymous or something like that, which I don't need. Wait, I'm in denial. Seriously. Seriously though, I mean, like I'm not an alcoholic, so you know, I don't go to that. But one of the principles in it is that you believe in a higher power, and there's a lot of atheists in this group. There's a lot of non-religious. You know, there's a lot of people of LGBT. There's black men. You know, there's a very large, you know, sort of, I mean, I guess sometimes they're kind of outcast type people that come to this group. You know, it seems like society doesn't accept them, and those kind of people have a lot of like trauma that they can't really process unless they have like a, you know, as a group. They might have like a focused counselor or something like that, but they can't do it with a group of people that may love them, you know, so they go, a lot of people go around feeling like they don't have their group, and Mankind Project sort of provides that, you know, and the kind of work that we get to do and the connection that we get to have with other men is pretty mind-blowing, you know. And I've never really felt totally safe around men my whole life, and then in that group, you know, and the people that I surround myself in my close personal group, I do, but like these guys are like, really, they understand emotion on a lot deeper level, so it's awesome.
Oh, that's really cool. Well, that's good to know then. So, any music you've been listening to that you don't normally listen to? Any recommendations other than The Loyal Order?
Recommendations. Oh man, I'm gonna have to pass because I've barely been listening to music.
Fair enough.
Let's see. I've been kind of listening to a whole garden variety of stuff. You know, I just go through my jazz records and I'll listen to like and a lot of like my old metal tapes and stuff like that. So like I've been listening to John Coltrane and Miles Davis, and like been listening to a band called Hypocrisy, and I listened to the Slash solo record with the very first one it had Fergie and like, you know,
and Miles Kennedy and
that one.
Lemmy, there was loads, weren't there? It was a really good album.
Oh yeah, and Iggy Pop was on it. Yeah, I listened to that quite a bit. I listened to the Eagles. You know, I don't really have time to listen to a lot of new music because I find that now I'm, you know, with working on my own new stuff, you know, I've been kind of going to the comfort food of music, you know, stuff I really like, and I want to listen to something that's new. You know, I want to hear something that's new. So I want to be able to take time to listen. And just kind of randomly listening to it, I don't get to really get a good hold of it. And you know, also, you know, I've been just really anxious. So like I keep going to the comfort food thing. You know, it's like, okay, I'm going to listen to my old Eagles record and, you know, it's another tequila sunrise. It's like, sure is, man.
Well, let's hope everybody out there who's going to watch this interview doesn't have the same attitude, because we want them to listen to The Loyal Order, whether they've heard it before or not. So...
Yeah, we do. That's correct.
Well, and I've been listening to a lot of new music because of doing interviews and stuff like this. And You're right, though. You do. It's not enough to just put it on in the background when you're doing other things. And the one thing that I really miss is the long car journeys when I used to play a lot of music, because then it's just me in the car and I can have it on really loud. And I miss that because it's harder in the house, because there's no one place I can centrally play music from. I end up having to play it on my phone and put it in my pocket, and it just comes around the house with me while I'm doing stuff here, there, and everywhere. Or for me, I quite like to put it on while I go running. And that's really my zone where I can zone out and really take the music in. And the only downside is, of course, when you get a preview of an album like this, it's harder to do because, you know, when you're playing it through a link, it's not, once this is on iTunes, I am going to be so happy, because it's a faff to try and play it through Facebook Messenger, and it's linked up and everything. And sometimes I lose my signal, but I've managed, and I've been playing it on repeat, so as best I can. But yeah, I can't wait to be able to download it. So that's good. I mean, literally, I do really want to talk about the album. I was only going to ask you one more question, actually, before we do. Because for me, interviews are typically are things that I do at live shows, pre-show, post-show, that sort of thing. Or, you know, it's very rare that live shows don't come up. And obviously, this is the weirdest of times. I know for you guys, your first show was last September, and you opened for Puddle of Mud, sold out show. Yeah. Did you have any shows planned that you had to cancel?
Yeah, we were actually putting together a couple of shows that we started getting offers in town because people know that we're going to bring people out. They're like, oh yeah, there's one order. Yeah, come out. Yeah. We're going to get people. It's like, yes, we are.
That's good.
But so we did have to cancel those, and nothing was like contracted and in place. So we do have a show coming up that is allegedly going to happen. It's going to be Loudness in November. We will be opening for Loudness, and obviously Loudness is really great, and we sure hope that Neil Limsong comes there.
Yeah,
so he can join his band.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
But no, we're definitely really excited about playing that show, because I mean, for me, like Akira Takasaki is like, he's an amazing guitarist, and I like to be able to like share stages with dudes like that, because it makes me think like, okay, if that guy has to go in after me, he may never be nervous, but I like to think that I could try, like let's see if I can make this guy nervous,
Why not? So absolutely.
It kind of builds me up, like the charge in me to play the best I can to have to share a stage with somebody like that.
Yeah.
Like on Monsters of Rock Cruise, we go out and, got to be on stages that Richie Kotzen and Joe Hoekstra and, Red Beach and those guys are playing on. And, I'm like, okay, if I have to share stages with those dudes, I have to at least be believable, that I'm supposed to be there.
No, you've earned your place, mate. You are a wonderful guitarist, so don't doubt yourself for a second. But that sounds like a fun show, and November, it might even just happen. Who knows?
Yeah,
fingers
I
crossed.
sure hope so.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you know what? Let's talk about the album. Let's actually talk about the album, because we've kind of referred to it so many times and we haven't actually delved into talking about it yet. So basically, by the time we're obviously pre-recording this interview, but by the time it goes out, this should be available for anybody to stream, download. Are the CDs they can order as well?
We don't have CDs yet, but what we've been told by the Orchard, who is our distribution center, that you can order individual CDs on demand. So like if you want the CD, you just go, here's what I want, and then they print your stick it in the sleeve and send it out. That
seems like a good plan. Why don't we do more of that? Why doesn't anyone do more of that?
Yeah, that's what the Orchard's kind of a new platform. So they're trying to be, they're owned by Sony Music, and they're trying to create a new platform to move music, because the distribution now is more and more expensive because trucks and all that stuff. And so they're going, okay, well, what if we only had to send one? You know?
What's the problem with that? Okay. No, that's really interesting. That's really good to know. And something that I will keep in mind for future. I can see me pulling that out at a dinner party going, well, I think you'll find this happens somewhere. Okay. So the first thing that was released back on the 1st of March this year was the first track on the album, Ready for Dead, with a super cool video as well to go alongside it. I mean, that, in terms of success that you've had so far with that, it's been, I've been following all of your social media. It's been charting in well, I'm not from America, so you'll have to explain how well it's been doing and what sort of charts and stuff, but it looks pretty fucking phenomenal from what I'm seeing anyway from over here.
In my mind, it's really amazing. Like, just like we started off at like number 39 on Billboard with the mainstream rock charts, and it has moved up to 22. So it's like in the top 20s, and it's like 20s. If it's my understanding is if it's top 20, that means it's 20 or higher. But it's in the 20s, and that's really great. And then Foundations, which is concrete marketing, Foundations Forum, run by Bob Chiappardi. Our record guy there is the guy who's promoting us is Eric Baker, and he's got us at number 12. So like he told us the new numbers this week, and we were just like, oh my God. So I'm super excited with the new numbers. It's like, it's already been out. I think we dropped the single in May. We really started pushing the single in March, again, because we released the video for Ready for Dead last year, 2019, March 1st. And then so after a year, people were really digging it. And so we started trying to promote the video a little bit more. We've gotten the video up to over 1 million views. We're getting, several hundred spins a week, for our song, and it's getting spun more and more. We're getting higher into the charts. Hopefully we crack the top 10 next week. We'll see what happens there. But hopefully we crack the top 20 on Billboard. That's crazy to me, because I see like there's the same people. They're like five numbers away from us. It's like Ozzy and Killswitch Engage. And,
just keep screenshotting it. Just keep.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's blowing me away that we are doing that. And I have Tom Hazert and Eric Baker and a woman named Jody Glisman Best that's helping Jeff and I get all this stuff done. And really Jeff and Tom are quarterbacking this whole thing. And but sitting in there going, yep, that's a good idea. You do that. You're the professionals. You do this.
Well, they're doing a great job. They are doing a great job. Yeah, honestly, they
absolutely.
Really are. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the vibe of the whole album, and then we can have a little look in more detail at some of the songs. But when I looked at your website, you describe your sound as iconic modern rock. That's what I read. I like that. I agree with that. I really like that as a statement. I haven't heard that expression used before. And I just thought, okay, well, how do I feel about it? And this was my opinion. I just wrote down, the album hits you right between the eyes, grabs you by the balls, and doesn't let you go from start to finish. Because it really does kick ass. So, I mean, suffice to say, I love the album. I think it's great. And it's great when you get an album to review and you're going to do an interview and you actually really love it. I haven't had anything yet where I haven't actually loved the album, but it just makes it so much easier because I've been putting it on by choice because I've wanted to listen to it, and I want to get it in my iTunes so I can put it in my favourites and start shuffling it around and all of that. So, really genuinely. And I sent it over to Tina C, who is my friend who also works for MMH Radio, because she does the reviews. So I do the interviews, she does the reviews. We have like a little tag team thing going on. And straight away she said to me, I actually really love this album. So what I'll be doing is, I'm going to feed some of her. Yeah, and she's done you an amazing review, which obviously when we put that live on the website, you'll be able to snatch that and put it on your own website and stuff. But I've got highlights from that throughout here as well. But yeah, I mean, my sort of, I suppose I'll do a little bit of talking now, and then I'll let you tell us everything from your side. But my initial feeling, it felt a bit, I suppose my first thought was Velvet Revolver vibe, with maybe a hint of Soundgarden, but brought up to date actually. And I thought, those influences, that's a really good thing. I mean, my personal favourites, probably Hellfire, Fuck or Flight, I Fall Silent. I've got them written down here, actually. Superhuman, The River, and Fall to Rise. And I wrote all those, and then I went, there's not many left. So I only left the others out because I felt like I should pick some favourites.
You have 5 favorites out of 9? That's amazing.
Yeah, I know, that's all right, isn't it? And I probably, and really, Colourblind's pretty fucking good as well. So, but the whole, as I say, the whole album's fantastic. I've had it on repeat, and that's by choice, not just because I've had to do the review. So it's only going to be released on 17th of July. So hopefully by the time this is aired, everybody will be able to get it if they haven't already pre-ordered it and got it. But they need to, so go get it now, people. There obviously aren't a huge amount of reviews available because not everybody's got it on preview like I have. So I found a really nice one though, because I always think it's nice for other people to hear reviews and just give them a bit of a vibe for it, because we can't necessarily play it as part of this interview because Facebook will mute it otherwise. So we will deal with it as the best we can. So Bob Shoesmith from Musipedia of Metal says this, and I have to read it because I won't be able to memorize it. The album kickoff is surprisingly forthright. It's surprisingly forthright style with mid-paced LA rocker Ready for Dead. I haven't read that very well at all. I'm going to start again. Okay. The album kickoff is surprisingly forthright style with a mid-paced LA style rocker Ready for Dead, with a strong likeness to Velvet Revolver or a polite Brides of Destruction vibe. Jeff Buhner has a great voice and is tunefully on point throughout, with a bit of a roughed up edge in places. He opens up, soars and shines on tracks like the standout Colourblind, propped up with some very complimentary backing vocals. There's a nod to Alice in Chains, Soundgarden and Creed in tracks like Half-Life and The River, and a very Buck Cherry Fuck or Flight. Plus another standout is the raunch and roll of the Blackstone Cherry-esque Superhuman. This is a very well played and well produced album. The vocals are on point, the production is balanced, loud and dirty, and by the closing belter of a rock out Fall to Rise, I'm definitely a fan. So that sounds like a good review, doesn't it, to me? And obviously we will be adding to that, because between Tina and I, we've got our own thoughts, and they're all very positive as well. So what Tina said, because I loved how she started her review, she said, you know when you hear the opening 20 seconds of a band and you immediately have high hopes? Yes, that. 9 tracks later, and I don't just like this, I bloody love it. There's so much going on here to get your teeth into. Where do I begin? The Loyal Order, Where Have You Been All My Life?
Oh,
so that's nice,
that's
isn't
awesome.
it? Yay!
Yes. That's amazing.
Absolutely.
Right.
So,
do you mind if I say something really quick?
Yes.
There's a song called Fuck or Fight.
Yes.
Not Fuck or Flight.
Hang on.
I know.
Okay.
I really need a flight right now. I'm sitting at home too long, but
that's my typo, not his.
That's okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. Just wanted to let you know.
All right, thanks. That's my favourite track as well.
Oh, really?
Typo that.
Yeah, it's a good track. You know, it's very, very hooky. You know, like people really love that one, and that's that one and Ready for Dead are actually written by our producer Rob Dacre, and he's a songwriter and a producer. You know, very strongly in his own right. You know, he had an album. Man, it's been quite a while, but he got signed to, I think it was Capitol Records. You know, just on a thing, like some guy came up to him and he was like, "I'm gonna get you signed to Capitol Records." And he goes, "Oh yeah, whatever, dude, call me." And the guy came back and he was like, "Dude, I got an A&R guy for you." And so Rob produced and played, you know, his own first record on Capitol Records. The deal was that he wouldn't take a record deal unless he got to produce his own record, and he did it. So he's from the very beginning of his career, he's a well-regarded engineer. He's worked with people like Katy Perry, and you know, I'm just like, wow, you know. And he's got right now he has 2 bands on the mainstream rock charts, Royal Bliss and Us. So, and not only that, he recently produced the Dan Reed Network album, the most recent, actually the last 2. And he's just an amazing musician, artist, creative artist in his own right. And I'm just very pleased to be working with him. So, and you know, when we worked on those songs for the Loyal Order, Ready for Dead, you know, I didn't really totally feel like they fit ready, like the Loyal Order vibe right off the bat.
Right.
But they were like, Jeff and Rob were like, yeah, dude, rough it up, make it, make it yours. And, a lot of Ready for Dead, Rob and I came up with in the studio. He had a couple of guitar riffs that were like, definitely keep these, dude, because these are real cool. And I was like, yeah, they rock. So I came up with a few things that added to that one, but Ready for Dead just needed a little bit more like, a little bit more down in the low end. And I kind of changed the guitar arrangement a little bit. We changed the middle section. Me and Jeff and Rob added the place where the guitar solo is.
Yeah.
And it just really added to what we do as a band. We already had a song kind of like that with, I can't remember the titles of my own album now.
I've got them all written down if it helps, but I might have written them down wrong like before. No, I haven't.
Hold on one second. Where the heck is it? I have it here. 1 second. What are my song titles? What's the one after Colorblind? I Fall Silent.
Oh.
I Fall Silent.
Yes. Oh, I love I Fall Silent.
Yeah, that was kind of starting off as like the same type of vibe as Ready for Dead. Yeah. But Ready for Dead is just a radio rock song. And,
it is, yeah.
We love it, and it's the one that was like, okay, let's release this. And then Hellfire, we finished that right as the album was closing. We were like, do we put out another song on there? And Hellfire was just really good, really great. And we got to play with the whole band on it. Yeah. And man, it just turned out so well that's going to be our next single.
You heard it here first, people.
Yeah.
I like a little exclusive.
Yeah.
All right. So okay then. Well, do you know what? Let's talk about a couple of the songs then. So what I've put down in my little notes about Ready for Dead is Kick-Ass Opener, probably obviously the most commercial track, but definitely the biggest earworm, because that's the one that goes around in my head when I'm just doing other things and the music's not on. Probably the most it's the one that people sort of would probably most identify with the style of Velvet Revolver, I think, on the album, because I don't think all of the songs reflect that band necessarily, but that kind of has that vibe, which, as I said before, is no bad thing. And what my friend Tina wrote in her review was, with opener and first single Ready for Dead, they've entered the top 30 on Billboard's mainstream rock indicator chart, and rightly so. It's a belter and could easily be on any of the big boys' albums. To my ears, I'm hearing a heavier lilt. They've got the hooks, but there's no bounce around pop here. It's full on hard rock, melodic but heavy, with a twin guitar attack, raspy vocals, and an underlying heaviness, but still radio friendly. My holy grail of sound.
Yeah, that song was, like I said, it was a little lighter. It was a little bit more of like a Butch Walker kind of song. It was a rock song, but it just wasn't quite like, like with songs like we have, like Fall to Rise and Superhuman, they're really heavy. It's heavy rock. It's not like death metal heavy, but like it's got some grit to it. And I felt like we needed to butch it up a little bit, no pun intended. So I just kind of played it really, 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 really aggressively. The opening riff was Rob's riff, and that was pretty aggressive. And the rest of the song didn't have quite that growl to it. So I really kind of butched it up quite a bit with that. And the song just turned out amazing. Yeah. It was really inspiring to play a guitar solo over it and everything. So I've gotten some good reviews on the guitar solo for that. So I feel pretty proud of that track.
Yeah, wicked. Well, who did the guitar solo on Hellfire then?
That was my buddy named Justin Gibson. He is the guitarist, the other guitarist for the Loyal Order, and I've worked with him since he was like 15. This is like he's almost, I think he's 30 now, and so I've known Justin for like 15 years, 16 years since he was in high school, and he played in another band with me, and I taught him guitar lessons when he was a young guy, and so he taught him well. Yeah, well, he was already kind of doing what my goal of playing was, which was play really precisely, and he kind of had some really strong attributes already because he has perfect pitch. Right. Which is the ability to, for the listeners, it's the ability to know pitch by its name. you know, and memorize it and just be able to go, okay, and play it on guitar. You know, he'll hear a whole stream of notes and go, is it this? And I'll be like, yes, it is.
Oh my God.
So he's really, really talented and a good writer. He hasn't written with us yet, but he's a very good writer as well. So, so he played that. We worked on that guitar solo together, and it's his guitar solo, of course, but like I just kind of produced it a little bit, you know, so that it, you know, I really just wanted him to have, like, if he was going to be on the record, I really wanted it to be like one of his best solos ever.
It's a really good solo. It stood out for me as well.
Yeah,
because I can't tell who's doing what bits, you see, of course, because I'm not listening to it from the album where I can actually read who's doing what. I'm listening to it from the link.
Gotcha. So I wrote. Me and Jeff wrote that song, and I played all the guitar riffs and stuff on that song. But I wrote that solo section specifically for him because he really loves Pink Floyd, and I wrote this chord progression that's reminded me of Pink Floyd, and
that will be why I like it. Because you love Pink Floyd. Amazing. Yeah,
me too. What's next for me? What else you got for me?
Well, I'm going to read to you what we put. I mean, I was quite simple with Hellfire. I just put, this is one of my favourites. I love the chorus, love the guitar solo. Tina had actually put quite a detailed bit of a review. She put, Hellfire begins with, it's fucking pointless. Straight away, I'm right on board with that little life mantra, lol. Simply, this rocks hard. It's clear they can write a song. The structure and phrasing is top class, and you'll instantly be humming along to the chorus, then digging the guitar solo, then rocking to the riffage, then singing along to the cleverly crafted lyrics. There's so much to love here. This is the complete package, the real deal. Sit down. The professionals are here to give us a lesson.
That's Hellfire?
That's about Hellfire.
Wow.
It's good,
That's
isn't it?
Amazing. That's really good. You know, I'm very lucky to be playing with a bunch of professionals on that song. I mean, we chose those guys because they have those attributes. And like, you know, it's not that the other guys that we played with didn't have those. We wouldn't have them on the record if they didn't. But they just embody, you know, they really know how to be in a band. You know, they know how to function well and tour and do that whole thing and, you know, dedicate themselves to a sound. And that's, you know, that's hard. That's hard to find.
Do you know what? I've just had a thought about something. It's almost as if, because this is such a strong debut album, it's almost like when you get a super group, because you've got all these musicians that know what they're doing and they've released other albums before, and their first, you know, because so many first albums are not necessarily the best album by the band, in my opinion. Usually the second album is where there's a bit more maturity, a bit more depth. And I suppose that's because I'm a massive fan of music. I don't just want it to be commercial and sing along. I want it to have depth as well. And I feel like you've got that already with this. So it's almost like when supergroups come together and make an album, and they can do that one album that's already perfect, and they don't need to develop and keep going and keep going. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see where you go next with this, because it's already... it's already got that depth of a second or third album. So, yeah, interesting. Very interesting.
To speak to the depth a little bit, just, you know, Jeff and I, we definitely go a lot off like how we feel. You know, we're not like, I wrote this riff, it has to be just this way from the moment I wrote it. You know, we feel it, you know, like how, and, you know, he kind of influenced me as a writer to be more in my feelings and stuff like that. It's like, you know, like, well, do you feel inspired by it? You know, is this something that you're feeling inspired by? And I'm like, no, you know, and sometimes you have to say no, and it might upset one or the other, you know, like writing is not always like, you know, Teen Crumpets, you know, it's not like, oh yes, this is wonderful. You know, like, no, sometimes writing, when you're dealing with like heavy emotion, it can be really, you know, not pleasant sometimes, because I have a feeling about a riff that comes from a place that could be hurt or something like that, you know, or he might have a lyric that comes from, or a melody place that comes from that same place. It's not all like, you know, sunshine and rainbows. It's hard, you know, but even a rainbow comes from rain, you know, so we have to, it's sunshine and rainbows, you know.
Isn't that a lyric from a Vixen track? something about rainbows. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Sorry, Cher.
That's it.
Sorry, Britt.
If you think it's all rainbows and not any rain, then it doesn't work that way. It wouldn't be love. That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And so, we try to go to that depth with ourselves.
Yeah.
We don't want our riffs to be superficial. And we don't want the messages and meanings of our songs to be just like, oh, I wrote this yesterday and it took me 10 minutes. We kind of pour over it and make sure that it's what we want to say 1,000 times. With the ethic of like Guns N' Roses, or like that first, like the first Velvet Revolver track, record was like, that kind of thing, or like the first Pearl Jam record, or the first Soundgarden record. They just had this. Even though like they were one of those bands that like by the third or fourth record, they had this unimaginable depth. And, but like Nirvana's Nevermind, I mean, right out of the gate, it's like, they're just killing it with that lineup, Dave Grohl. And Jeff and I always kind of like, when we said iconic rock as our description, it's like, I don't ever want to say like, we're the next big thing or something like that. It's more just, there's a mantra that Jeff and I have. The book Stephen Covey, the Seven Habits of Highly Effective People.
I've got that. Yeah.
Well, one of the things is begin with the end in mind. It's like, well, at the end of this, what do we want to be? What do we want to say about? What do we want to be? And it's like, we want to be iconic, like Metallica or something like that.
Yeah.
So we want to create music with that iconic thing, and the only way we could see them doing that was like, just like they had the shovel and they were digging in deep, they had the backhoe, they were really, going after it. And we felt that if we didn't go after it like that, if we went superficial, it wouldn't connect with people. So, anyway, that's really our ethic with making music. So the next record, hopefully we'll still have that same kind of going after it, because I don't know. Not really.
Look, if you aim high and you don't quite get there yet, that's okay, because that's always part of a journey. But if you aim low or middle, you're never going to get, that's... Yeah,
you're never going to overshoot.
That's life, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll never overshoot if you have mediocre aspirations.
Yeah. I had this training by a guy who was so inspirational, but he used to say, when you're a kid, you don't dream of being, I don't know, you might dream of being an astronaut, but you don't want to be a shit astronaut. You want to be the best astronaut. You want to be on the moon. You don't want to be the one that doesn't go anywhere. And he was like, if you wanted to be, it doesn't matter what you want to be. If you want to be a pilot, you want to be the best pilot, because that's how kids think. They don't want to just be, they don't dream of being mediocre. They dream of being amazing. So as adults, we have all that. We seem to have life come in the way and interfere with that and knock our confidence and stop us dreaming big. But if you don't dream big and you don't go for it, you just have to be realistic and take knocks and not dwell on disappointment. But you've got to aim high. Otherwise, that's what I mean. You can't just aim low and go, well, we did it. Yeah, exactly. we got to the low point that we were aiming for. You've got to aim big, haven't you? And you'll only ever get to there. Mm-hmm. That's where you're aiming for.
And for guys like us, we're not 22 anymore, so there's really no way to make a band really make an impact on 2 or 3 records. We have to, like, from note one, we have to be like, killing it. Yeah. And with Ready for Dead, note one, I think we did that.
You're doing it. Let's talk about some more tracks, shall we?
Okay,
so
cool.
Let me have a look. So let's talk about Fuck or Fight, because I like that one, even though I've typoed. I'm such an idiot. But this is why I like to have physical copies and things on my phone. And like, anyway, we won't dwell on it and talk about it as much as I am at the moment.
Okay.
But,
no worries.
I mean, I love that one, because I think my first playthrough of any album, you're always looking for something that stands out, or because, it's your first listen. And as I say, depending on the environment and how you're trying to listen to it, how you're trying to consume it, whether you can give it your full attention or not. But for whatever reason, that stood out to me out of all the tracks. I think because I already knew Ready for Dead anyway, because I'd already got the single on my phone. But Fuck or Fight absolutely stood out to me. And weirdly, it's a bit punky in a way, which isn't my usual. That's not my usual thing that I would go for. But it's kind of like punk, but with melody. and this is just me, and so this is just my feelings about it. So it's definitely got a catchy earworm of a chorus as well. So that's probably the second most catchy one on the album, I think, to Ready for Dead. Possibly a hint of Foo Fighters. And again, I'm not a massive Foo's fan, but for some reason I could hear hints of that in there as well. I absolutely love Jeff's vocal on that track. I love the screaming. It's just brilliant.
Jeff really likes that song too.
Yeah.
He loves that tune.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, Tina just said, it just said we're dragged back, kicking in, because we'd obviously come from Half-Life, which is beautiful, melodic, and certainly a more melancholy track. But then we come kicking and screaming back into Fuck or Fight, and it's just a great, solid, in my opinion, a bit punky rock and roll track.
Yeah, we definitely, like, when we played it, it was like Jeff had said to me, it's kind of a punk rock track. It'll just get done really fast in the studio, and it really did. We, Jeff and Rob got the drum track done one weekend, and I came in like the following Monday and laid down the guitar tracks, and it was just like done. I came up with this little melody for the intro that was actually kind of hard to come up with because the chord in the song is weird. It's called a power 9, but it's like this it's not really like a straight up punk rock chord, but he plays it like a punk rock chord. Right. So I kind of came up with like a melody that was difficult to come up with to make it balance out and sound like a connected song. Mm-hmm. And it really just turned out really good, the way the strong melody, the strong riff part of the song, and then playing melodic parts over top of it. It turned out really great. It is an earworm, that's for sure.
Definitely is an earworm, for sure. For sure. All right, so let's have a little look at the others. So you've got a couple of, I suppose, what you would call ballads on there, but they're both. I mean, you've got Half-Life is lovely. Slower track. I don't know why. I suppose I looked at Colorblind and The River as being more of the two ballads, but they're both powerful ballads. They're not soft by any means. Mm-hmm. I mean, The River, in my opinion, that was one I put as one of my favourites because I just think it's got a really lovely groove. And Colorblind, again, absolutely gorgeous. I don't know. I sort of thought I don't know. Is there a bit of a Chris Cornell side to Jeff's voice in that one? I mean, the guitar solo in that one, again, I absolutely love that.
Which song was that?
In Colorblind.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, Tina had said it shows a more sensitive side, but with a heavy undertone and a gritty passion, a la 6 a.m. So
yeah, we took I'll just start with where the slower tunes. I'll give you kind of a synopsis. Like Jeff started off this verse for Half-Life, and he had this really great verse it wasn't really to a groove yet, and he was very Soundgarden because it was broken up and kind of had this odd meter feel to it. And Rob said, "Just come to the studio and jam with me." And so me and Jeff and Rob went to the studio, and he started playing just a regular 4/4 drum beat, and we played that riff to it. And we looked at each other and went, done. It sounded so great the way we did it, and arranged the chords in a way that really worked just beautifully. And I improvised a bunch of like guitar ideas over top of it. And almost all the ideas I improvised, we ended up keeping as, I was feeling like the song was somewhere between The Police and Alice in Chains. Yeah. So I used a bunch of like Andy Summers guitar ideas, like just really, I tried to keep like really pretty sort of open sounds. It's kind of like, there's a little Def Leppard-ish in there, like Hysteria or something like that. Yeah. And, just really wanted it to make it just lush, beautiful, sort of Incubus meets Def Leppard kind of vibe. And the original vocal melody was very busy. It was almost like like hyper rhythmic. And as we were recording it, our producer Rob was like, I think it's too busy. You know, you guys have so many beautiful ideas going. Let's open it up on the vocal and just make this big giant open melody, you know. And that's where Jeff came up with the breathe in, and it was like, oh wow, that's different. I like it, but it's different. And it took me a second because I was so used to hearing the old melody to really like, and I just love the new version of it so much better, you know, like the album version. And then there's like The River. That was the very first track we did with Rob Dacre, and I had written that. Most of the arrangement, me and Jeff were writing it together, but I was kind of coming up with riff after riff after riff, and I wanted it to be this sort of like 10 years gone, like Led Zeppelin kind of long epic song. And Jeff doesn't really write like that. He doesn't write progressive rock opuses. You know, he's more of a pop songwriter, and he wanted it to have a verse and a chorus. And so we, you know, I was like, oh, come on, man, just try to write it. You know, and he tried, and that's not his style. So when we went in to work on the song with Rob was like, hey, you know, let's try some things with this arrangement, because, you know, I feel like this needs to have a chorus, and this needs to be sort of a verse. And I was like, I got sick to my stomach, because I was just like, oh no, you know, my song's going to get torn apart. Oh no, you know. and then when we finished the song together, and they trusted me as a creative partner, you know, we used all my riffs to make the tune, and they trusted me to like still, and that was like, hey, this needs a verse, like, can you make this? And so I took the opening guitar lick that was acoustic, and I made a heavy version of that in the verse, like when it comes in with the full band. And we all kind of looked at each other. I was like, okay, now this song is moving forward in the right direction. And Jeff immediately started hearing vocals. You know, it made perfect sense to be a more of a pop ballad, you know, pop rock, heavy rock ballad. And then, you know, with Colorblind, that tune was, I think it was the second song we did. Like, we started working on this back in 2012 as a studio project, and this was the second song. And Jeff kind of came up with this kind of weird guitar part, and he's like, what do you think? And I'm like, I like it. It's really quirky. It's kind of Radiohead-ish. And then, you know, I played it almost verbatim what he had played it. And Rob was like, no, I think you just play more like a regular guitar part, you know? So we went in and recut almost the entire track, almost the entire thing. We almost redid it. And it turned out for this release of it was so much better. I hope this one gets released as a single at some point, because, I mean, in fact, all of them were sort of written to be singles. You know, we didn't write any of them to be like a backseat song. We wanted them to be like, wow, you could release any of these, and they would do well. Yeah,
for sure. And I think Colorblind absolutely probably out of those three is, I mean, I've put, like, you know, Half-Life, beautiful melodic, Colorblind, gorgeous, powerful ballad, another powerful ballad for the river. I think any of them could stand alone. I think you're absolutely right. But Colorblind's probably the more commercial out of the three if you were going to release one.
It's got a lot of meat to it. We love that song.
And there's only really 3 tracks we haven't talked about, and I think all 3 of those are on my list of favourites, so we're going to talk about them. Although we are probably taking, bear in mind, I want to do some silly questions afterwards as well, so we'll speed it up a little bit so that we're not taking too much of people's time. They've probably got lives. They probably want to do other things as well. And we need them to be going straight after this interview and downloading the album if they haven't done it already. So I'm a good salesperson. That's my day job.
Thank you.
So I Fall Silent. Again, I don't know how much you want to say about that, really. I mean, we've just said quite simply, I mean, I love the fast pace of it. I think it's a catchy little number, just to say. My friend Tina said she thinks that it's channeling a bit of the Foos as well. Again, another one where there's a bit of that. Don't know. Yeah,
the Foo Fighters, you know, like, we definitely are inspired by them. Like, the funny thing about that song is, like, when Jeff first started playing it, he was playing it on bass because, he's a bass player by trade, and he was playing this riff, and I'm like, that sounds like Iron Maiden, And he's like, well, I don't want it to be a Maiden song. And I'm like, well, what do you want it to be? And it's like kind of, growlish or whatever. So I took the riff and I played almost verbatim what he was playing.
Yeah.
Except I just played it in a more 4/4 kind of like more even kind of drum beat. Yeah. And he got up to go to the bathroom or something and came back, and I was like, how about this? And he went, yeah, just like that. And so it was, that took a little while actually, because there's this kind of instrumental middle section that we came up with, and he had came up with this really strange bass line, but it was all kind of in the same key. So I was like, well, we have to change the key on it because it just needs to have some kind of shift here that gives it a different feel. And we moved it around, and he and I kind of like went back and forth on that riff for quite a while. It came out really great. It's one of my favorite songs on the record. I love I Fall Silent a lot.
For sure. Absolutely. We touched on Superhuman earlier because that was the track that kind of got this whole thing started in the first place, that you wrote for, what was the show called again?
It's Heavy Hitters Outdoors. It was two seasons on Comcast Sportsnet Northwest.
Oh, there we go. I mean, my thoughts are I just love the raucous vocals. I think it's another solid kick-ass track. It's got another awesome guitar solo, another catchy chorus. I kept thinking it reminds me of something, and I don't know what. And it'll come to me one day, God knows when, and I'll be like, that's it. But I think it's another great track, really. Tina describes it as a punchy all-rounder. You can't go wrong with that, can you?
What's a punchy all-rounder?
A punchy all-rounder.
Oh, punchy all-rounder.
My Brummie accent, you see. You can't understand me.
Sorry. Now I'm the ugly American.
That's all right.
Sorry.
I always say no one can understand me in America unless I take on a bit of an American lilt. And then, I'm going to say I think Fall to Rise might be my favourite, only because it's the heaviest by far. It's a fucking great way to finish the album because it you get to the end and it's the heaviest one of all. So it kind of leaves you, with a great big rock and roll punch in the face, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's the lowest tune song too.
Oh, okay. I mean, there's a lovely bit of bass work as well that really stands out, which you don't normally do on the other tracks. So I noticed that was very different, and I like the fact that I kind of like the tempo changes as we go through, but also Jeff's vocal range on this one is immense. This is the one where he really does stretch himself from one end to the other. So again, I mean, Tina's just put surprising album closer, Fall to Rise, goes up a level in terms of heaviness. And sticks it to you loud and hard and heavy right between the eyes with the full force of Jeff's voice, guitars blazing, talk about going out with a bang, super strong finish, all killer and no filler, as they say.
Yeah, we had decided to, I was kind of the deciding vote to keep 9 tracks on the record because we had a couple more that we were trying to finish. And I was like, well, Tom Hazer gave us a deadline to finish this, and I don't want to miss it, to try to get those other ones done. I know how long we took to get the other ones done, and I totally respect the idea of adding new tunes to give the listeners a little bit more and stuff like that. But all my favorite records from the 80s, they were no more than 10 songs, Master of Puppets and all the Megadeth albums from that era were 9 songs, a bunch of Scorpions records were 9 songs. And I was just like, okay, so to pick that one as the closer, I mean, I'll tell you this, we wrote this tune as a possible theme song for a second Jeff Coxon produced television show. We started working on it under that pretense, and we were really excited about the track, and he was just like, I think the show fell through. It didn't actually end up getting produced. But we loved what we wrote. We were down at the NAMM show, in a hotel room, and talking about like this tune, what we were going to do with it. And we got together one night at my apartment and just started cranking down on this riff.
Yeah.
And it flowed out so nicely. And we did a little bit of editing and arranging with Rob. And man, after that got done, I was like, you know, the middle section is probably like, I'm getting cut out here. The middle section is probably like one of my best sets of instrumental writing, because Jeff came in with this idea one day and he was like, play this. And he played it on the bass. And I'm just like, dude, that doesn't fit any of the ideas with the song. You know, like, are you sure you want this in the tune? I mean, like, we pretty much have to like write a solo and get out of the tune now. And he's just like, just fit it in there.
It's good. It works. I like it. It's surprising, but I like it.
So I came up with this, like, I took the idea. I was like, okay, man, you asked for it. And I wrote the harmony guitar solo all on the same riff idea. And then that bass track that's like sticking out,
yeah.
I wrote that to match the harmony guitar part, so that it was like a call and response. I ended up playing the bass track on the record. So I guess one of my little crowning glories. I love that song a lot.
Wicked. No, and you know what? It's interesting you say that it could have been used as a second track for the TV show, because I would say if I had to pick two tracks that feel like they vibe together, Superhuman and Fall to Rise would be those tracks. You know, you could almost put them as a different vibe to the rest of the album. It works because you've got different influences, and that's what's nice. It's a diverse album. I like that about it. And if you were going to pair some of the songs, you know, we've sort of talked about that, haven't we? Where Ready for Dead could pair with Fuck or Fight, and Superhuman definitely could pair with Fall to Rise, I think. So
yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. We definitely had the same kind of energy, you know, like what we were creating it for, you know, because we worked with Jeff before and we knew kind of what he liked, but also it just like, that's the way I write heavy riffs, that kind of, it's like kind of Southern-ish, you know, like heavy rock, you know. It's, I studied jazz in school, so I always have this sort of bluesy kind of feeling to the way I hear music. And, you know, it's like if I drop Seed and then wrote an Aerosmith song or something, that's the way I kind of like to write music, really heavy, bluesy influenced. So. Cool.
Well, let's have a little wrap up then on how we feel about the album. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a belter of a debut album. I've said before, but I mean, when I can download it properly, that will be nice, because I'll be able to just stick it in with my iTunes, and that'll make life easier for me as well. I'm absolutely confident that this is going to be a huge success for you, and I'm super excited to be able to see you guys live one day. That would be amazing.
Oh yeah. And like one of our goals is to play England, so.
Oh, well, definitely, we've got to make that happen. And, you know, you talked about download. I mean, how cool would that be? But, you know, hopefully with the success you're having so quickly in America, with the contacts that you've got and everything, it could just propel you a little bit more quickly. So, you know, I mean, it's certainly the vibe of the band. You would go down really well at a festival like Download. There's so many festivals over here. You know, there's the Hard Rock Hell ones. There's so many, honestly. We've got to be able to get you on somewhere for sure.
The Hard Rock Hell ones, they actually have a modern rock one, don't they?
They have a what, sorry?
More of a modern rock themed festival.
They have all different themes. So, you know, there's all different themes. So, and they have one that's kind of generic as well in November. So it covers lots of different genres. But I mean, there's so many festivals now. I mean, obviously they're all being cancelled left, right and centre, which is a bit shit. But there's so many festivals in the UK. But then there's also a lot of venues as well. And again, it could be that there's somebody that would be perfect for you to support and tour with as well. So, I mean, you know all this anyway, but it would be really nice. Maybe next year that could be something to.
Well, I appreciate you saying it out loud on camera, because we want other people to hear that people think we're that kind of, you know, that level of band. You know, like we have strived for the entire amount of time that we've been working together to be able to go play on big stages. Yeah. That's what we want to do. So
Fingers crossed. Aim big. What did we say earlier? Dream big. Yeah. No point dreaming small. What's the point? So final thoughts on the album by Tina are a corker of a debut album. It's big, it's meaty, there's real substance here. All in all, this is the best thing I've heard this year. So there you go.
Oh, wow.
So between me and Tina, do you know what? We're so influential. I reckon the UK, they'll be listening to us. Everyone out there.
I believe it.
Yeah. Any final thoughts for you on the album before I ask you random questions, or do you want to just go straight into randomness?
I just want to say my final thoughts on the record is it's the best thing I've ever done. I mean, like so far, like anything I create after this is going to be trying to meet the standard that we held for this album. It's the way it was created and all that stuff. It's hard to you can never like bottle lightning the second time. You can't. It's just we're really lucky to have had this kind of the way Jeff and I influence in the chemistry is rare. And I'm very lucky to work with such a dynamic writer, and the producer that we work with is also a dynamic writer. So we worked very well together. And like I said, as with every creative process, there's never perfect. But at the same time, like being able to create the way we did together, and we're already working on the next record. So like, and that chemistry is still there where it's like, I'll show you something and it's like, oh wow, we're already coming up with ideas to move on to the next thing. That's been from the time that I met Jeff, we've always had that kind of like, just easy creative ideas. So.
Yeah, we'll keep going while the ideas are flowing.
Yep, I can't wait for the next part.
Super duper. All right. Well, that was wonderful. And then obviously, again, one more final plug, and we'll have another one at the very end of the interview. But final plug, if you haven't heard it before, go and download it, for God's sake, or stream it or something, because you're an idiot if you don't. People.
Yeah. The album is available on all the digital outlets through The Orchard by Sony Music. Yeah. And you can find us on iTunes, Google Play, all that stuff.
Yeah, so, go get it. Just go and do it. Just support musicians. Stop thinking about it. Right, before I let you go, I think it would be fun to ask you a few random questions. So let's do that.
Okay.
And then I'll let you go, because this is turning out to be the longest interview I've ever done. So I thought it might, because we know each other and we can both talk. So, but yeah, it's in my opinion, it's been very interesting.
Thank you. I'm having fun. I always love working and hanging with you, Caz. So that's awesome.
So, okay then, random questions. In the film of your life, who would you want to play you?
Okay, there's a couple people that I have in my Rolodex that I might want to have this go. I mean, like, barring the fact that I'm not that huge, I don't want Jason Momoa because he's got long hair. But the lighter skin, more apt dudes like Chris Hemsworth. I mean, imagine if Chris Hemsworth played me. That'd be amazing. And then but for the actual body size type person to me, like it's more like the COVID-19 Thor. He's been on pandemic for a while. The abs aren't quite as tight, That time when he was in, is it Thor 2 or 3? Or it's Thor 3, isn't it? It was Endgame that he was.
Oh, where he disappears, yeah.
Yeah, so like Lebowski Thor, that's what, or like Brad Pitt from Legends of the Fall when he had long hair. Remember that?
Lovely Brad Pitt. Yeah, of course I remember it.
Actually, he had more blondish hair when he was in Interview with the Vampire. So
look at you. You're the biggest Brad Pitt fan. I thought I was.
Yeah.
Well, do you know what? Do you remember I said to you earlier, I said, just in case you had any trouble thinking of any answers to questions, I'd got one prepared for that one. And I actually put Chris Hemsworth, and I put him down because, do you know why? And then this is a real compliment. You'll love this. But because you've got a deep, sexy voice, and so has Chris Hemsworth. And I thought, plus he's blonde, plus he's sometimes got long hair. So I thought that would do. How about that?
So my voice is deep and sexy. That's good to know. All right.
So there you go. Enjoy the compliment. That's what we're here for. Okay. Right, okay. I'm going to whiz straight on to you're going to love this question. This is my new question. I'm testing it out on you.
Okay.
What would be the most inappropriate movie to remake as a porno?
Inappropriate?
It's going to be the most inappropriate movie to remake as a porn film or a porno.
Ooh, that's a good
No, isn't it? I know.
Yeah, I think I got a few. Like you could go with like Jurassic Park or something like that.
That would be awkward.
Like imagine the interspecies sex with that.
Yeah.
You know, like something that's trying to kill you and you're having sex with it at the same time.
That's a genius answer. That would actually be incredibly inappropriate. Tyrannosaurus with his little hands, like
trying to grab the Brachiosaurus's boobs.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
that's genius. All right, so okay. This is another new question. This is really rude as well, but I'm still going to say it. If getting an erection made a sound, what sound would you want it to make?
Not the sound of an old door opening. Not that. I wanted if I had an erection, it would be like starting a jet engine or something, just like
This is my new favourite question. I love it. I think if I had a Willy, I'd want it to have a theme tune, like, or some kind of fireworks thing going off. But anyway,
a theme song. Oh, that kind of. Okay, well, if it had to have a theme song, not just a noise starting.
No, I think it was supposed. The question is a noise. That's just me thinking the noise would be like some drums going. I don't know, something grand.
Yeah, it's like when you get an erection, it's like taiko drums from Japan.
Yeah, that's it.
Go. That'd be amazing.
It would. Oh dear. Right.
The Emperor has come.
I've got a few would you rather questions for you. So these are quite simple answers, really. So we'll start with the more sensible ones. Would you rather have the keys to the General Lee or Knight Rider's kit?
Well, since Knight Rider 2, the kit is actually has AI and can make me jump much higher and do all kinds of crazy stuff. I can fall asleep and I could be
drive you home. Yeah, he used to snog birds sometimes in the car while the car drove itself. So.
I mean, like, think about what David Hasselhoff was doing when he wasn't driving KIT. He was having a music career in Germany, so I could have like a top hit singles in Germany and then go crime fight on the weekends with KIT. It would be amazing.
Okay. You're right. It's KIT all the way, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah, I would go for KIT as well. So, okay, next up. Would you rather have the power of invisibility for only 15 minutes a month or the power of mind control for just one day a year? Ooh.
I'm going to go with mind control because I don't really have any fancy to like control anyone else's mind. If I have mind control, I'll control my own mind a little better.
Oh, come on. That's a silly reason. You wouldn't. What you would do is control the mind of someone with a load of money, get them to give it to you. Just get them to give over their mansions and stuff.
All right.
Or you could mind control everybody to come to the biggest show on earth, which would be headlined by the Loyal Order.
And then like lots and lots of people would give me little bits of money and then I'd have tons of money.
Yeah.
More than any one rich person could do.
And I'm totally come to hang out in the mansion. That'd be cool.
No, that's good.
And this is great. You can buy Knight Rider's kit as well. I mean, pretty much this is sorting itself out. The whole life is being sorted by this one day.
Think about the planning of only one day a year having mind control. Because then you'd be like, it would take 20 years to get a concert planned, I mean, like, think about how long it takes to get the Monster Rock cruise planned.
Yeah.
And that's just 1 week.
Okay, so I haven't thought this through then, really. But couldn't you mind control everybody to just do it for you?
Oh, yeah, I guess
for a day, though. Maybe you've only got control over them for a day. So you're right. They'd have to work fast, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wonder how long that mind control lasts. Like, if I set them in order, would they work until the next day that
I've got an idea. Do you remember in Wayne's World 2 when if you book them, they will come? So what you do is you set it all up. You set the gig up, the Wayne stock gig. So we could call it Cookie Monster stock or something.
It's That's right. Cookie Monster. That's me.
Yeah. So basically, you set the gig up, and everyone's going, "Shit, we haven't sold any tickets. What the hell?" And you're like, "Don't worry. If we book it, they'll come." And you just on that day mind control everyone to turn up. Everyone thinks you're a genius. You just sell loads of merch because you haven't pre-sold tickets because you can't mind control them before that. It's perfect. It's an utterly genius plan.
It's well, like if you mind control them for the entire 24 hours before the show, like and schedule the show at like the
last hour,
the 23rd hour. Yeah, you could get a lot of people there.
Oh God, it's perfect. Oh man.
And then the next year do the same thing, right?
Yeah,
it'd be amazing.
That's all you need. I know, me too. It's great. Okay, silly ones now. These are really silly. So, would you rather cry every time you have sex, or burp every time someone kisses you?
I would totally cry every time I have sex. It's like if you burp when you kiss somebody, they'll never want to have sex with you.
No, true story. Unless they have sex with you without the kissing, but who wants that?
Yeah, right.
Okay, these next ones, you're going to love this. Would you rather have vaginas for ears or penises for arms?
I don't want to have anything going in my ears. I want to have penises for arms.
Brilliant. Okay, I'm sure you could cause mass destruction with that.
Yeah. Imagine the fleshlight that you'd have to buy for
this. For sure. Okay, and then the final one. Would you rather have ball bags for eyelids or a willy for a nose?
I don't want the droop. I don't like the droop, so a willy for a nose.
That's lovely. I've only asked that question once before, and he went the other way because he was going to wear sunglasses and cover up the ball bags. But I think the nose would be good. A willy for a nose. Nothing wrong with that.
I don't want to get a nose job to make it smaller either, so it's great. It's like you can I hope this is not totally too crass, but you can go down someone and fuck them at the same time.
I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking, do you know what? I've asked this question and I know really what's going to get said, and it's been said. It's fine. We'll put it out after the watershed. It'll be fine.
Yeah. We'll have to notate that this is 18 and over interview. Yeah. My daughter Lisa can't watch this.
No, she can't. And my mom can never watch any of my interviews because I always ask questions like this. And she's like, "Oh, I'd love to see them." I'm like, "Yeah, sorry, they're not available on your format." They're all live. Sorry, if you're not on Facebook, you can't see them.
Yeah.
Anyway, right. So that's it. That's the end of my silly questions. I think that's probably enough of them for you, really, isn't it?
Thank you so much. I had a blast. That was super fun.
No, you're welcome. So okay. Obviously, you have achieved a huge amount really, really quickly. So, I mean, what are you most looking forward to for this band? What would be the ideal thing, the dream?
I keep saying this. I want to put it out into the universe that I want to play at Wembley Stadium. I mean, that's I want my biggest, one of my highest goals is to play in front of a sold out audience at Wembley, like 90,000 people, like the Foo Fighters, or Queen, I want it. It may never happen and I'm okay with that. But at the same time, it's like, that's one of my goals to do that. And
it's a good goal to have.
Loyal Order is just like, we have you have to start with good songs and then find the funding and everything that gets you to that place where you can advertise for an entire year to get that many people in the same place.
Yeah.
That's what Dave Grohl said. He said, when you put out a show like a Wembley Stadium show, you have to advertise for an entire year to make sure that every ticket is sold.
Wow.
And to think of like that for a band like the Foo Fighters, it's like, okay, how long do I have to work to get to that?
Shit, yeah. Or just get the mind control thing, so
Yep, mind control.
There we go, and then we're sorted. That's all we need.
On the docket.
Thank you so much. It's been absolutely awesome catching up with you. And thanks for watching, everybody out there. I am Caz Parker for MMH, the home of rock radio, with Brandon Cook from Loyal Order. And I hope everybody out there has enjoyed this as much as we have, because if they haven't, it's going to be a bit
I had a blast.
Absolutely. I had a blast as well. So go buy the album, people. Just go and buy it. We've told you it's good. That's all you need to know. Right then, rock on.